So come things invest. We're talking about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment gonna talk today will be Ethereum Teach. First, I want to say happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope a great week so far. Respective recording time of 9:55 a.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum current trading $4,490, down about 2.34% so far. With respect to overall crypto market, I would say it's kind of a mixed bag today, right? With respect to the key coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum. With respect to Ethereum hitting that all-time high yesterday, as we hit the 4,643, which is a new territory, right? But it seems like as of today, as the Bitcoin reversing back down, normalizing, or having the lack of momentum to retest all-time high all over again, despite some of the positive news that we've been counting yesterday, that just cannot sustain, right? Because when we're hitting new territory, contingent on whales coming in on buying, and sustaining the buying pressure, the buying pressure has been mainly sustained by the public investors. So when you see that imbalance in the ecosystem, the surging pressure would be, relatively short-lived, which is very logical if you think about that in a supply-demand dynamics perspective, right? And also on these, selective coins like Cardano, Solana, and XRP, these are all up respectively. Cardano's up about 3%. Solana break all-time high all over again at $224.83 at the moment right now, up about 9%. XRP's seems like we are testing, and the technical seems like it's coming true per the Golden Cross. We are going to be attempting to test the $1.20 as the next resistance level. Polkadot's down about 5%. ALGORAND down about 1.38%. Shiba Inu seems like is selling off, which is very logical. We've been foreshadowing this, and the technical is, seems like is really coming together. So with respect to the news on Ethereum specifically, I would say, there's some active news, I guess. With respect to the first one on Bazinga about 1 hour ago, talk about Quentin Tarantino, which is the obviously the movie director, is selling 7 uncut Pulp Fiction scenes as NFTs. So it seems like there's more NFT commercialization, and Quentin Tarantino, with his, very reputable and notorious for his movie franchises. Pulp Fiction is one of the, most memorable movies, and one of the most iconic one as well. To be selling 7 uncuts, among the artistic community, I think it's going to demand a relatively high price point. And it seems like with respect to the, basically the commercialization that has been relatively hyped as well, I foresee it's going to have some sort of like a double whammy effect onto surging the price up, like with all this hype and euphoria that we've been experiencing so far, right? So it doesn't really say much about what's the price offering, but it seems like it's going to be an auction, right? Or people's going to be bidding for it. So I think that should subsequently stir the price to go upward from here, which, I'll keep an eye out on to see with respect to the 7 uncut scenes, how much will these scenes technically demand, right? I foresee it's going to be maybe millions, maybe, a couple $100,000, or I don't even know. I'm not an appraiser, so but it's interesting to know that this has been very active among the artistic community. And then the next one is talking about on CoinDesk 3 hours ago, talk about Loopring surges 40%. Solana replaces Cardano as the 5th largest coin. Ethereum fee spikes. So this is just talking about what's been happening with respect to Loopring. 40% surge is definitely no joke, but it's obviously mainly coming from whales and then subsequently public investors chasing in. Solana is replacing Cardano. I think this is more of a premature type of depiction. It's something we still have to watch, right? I think that what they're saying by replacing is basically the market cap as a whole, right? Of Solana versus Cardano, it seems like it's taking the 5th place. So I think it's relatively still premature for us to say which one is the leading dog in terms of the altcoin, like what's the next Ethereum, if you may, right? But we have to read it with a grain of salt. Media companies are incentivized to persuade or influence in a certain way, and we just have to read it as an informative perspective. But is it influential? We have to obviously take that with a lens, a filter lens, if you may. Bazinga's the next one. 11 hours ago, talk about Ethereum killing Solana. Crypto hits all-time high. Flips Cardano as 5th largest coin. So it's the same article, but from a different media company. Talk about Solana. Talk about Cardano. So interesting to know, but more like trivial. And talk about something that is more of a historical depiction rather than anything substantive, if you may, right? And then the next one is on Cointelegraph again. It seems like a lot of analysts have been very vocal recently. Analysts says that the impulse move could send Ethereum price into 6,000 to 14,000 range. I can understand what that means. Like impulse move technically means like euphoria, hitting that all-time high level, right? And based on the level that we're at right now, we've been surging and we've been leaping up for quite some time ever since like the beginning of October, and it's like beginning of November. So we've been surging for one whole month, right? I get that it's a Santa Claus rally. I get that Q4 is typically bullish on crypto fronts, but 6,000 to 14,000, firstly, it's a huge range. And secondly, technically, 6,000, I think that could be logical. Like, I think 5,000 is definitely in play if we are gonna reach the RSI to be above 80s. Right now we're at like the 60-ish, right? So technically, if you wanted to leap up, to like the 7,000, we could technically reach the RSI on a scale of 92 out of 70, right? But 14,000, that seems a crazy stretch, right? Unless you like completely stretch the RSI to be above 100, which I've never seen before. I think 92 is possible, which we have seen in the past. But again, I think this is still a large speculation because 6,000 versus 14,000 is like, what kind of analysis is this? It's like really, really polarized, if you may, right? So I guess we read it with a grain of salt, right? But ultimately, it's still northward of where we're at right now. So it's a bullish article at the end of the day. But 14,000 is a bit of a stretch. I have to be, I believe, based on my my understanding on the technical fronts right now. And then the last one is talk about Decrypts 20 hours ago, which is the massive news that we've heard yesterday, right? The CME, which is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, launching the Ethereum micro futures as Ethereum sourced the new all-time high yesterday, right? So we reached the 4,643 with this massive news, which is comparable to like the affectation or the anticipated pressure from the Bitcoin ETF that we saw early today, right? Well, not early today, early this couple of weeks ago, right? So with respect to Ethereum, let's just dive into technical. That was the last news technically. So right now we are curving down because of normalization, and we've been very stretched up with the 63 out of 70. So you know what that means, right? Whenever you're like touching the 70, basically it's like an alarm clock go off, right? That you overbought. But technically, if you want to keep reaching, that's possible, right? It seems like we oscillating. Monetary circulation has to come from somewhere, right? Someday you up, someday you down, but you're still on a bullish momentum, right? And I think with respect to the ball that we're throwing at right now, like the baseball, right? It's still like, slowly forming an apex. I think the ball has been flowing in air for quite some time now. So when are we going to come back down, right? And I think Bitcoin has a lot to do with it. And I think with the drag effects of Bitcoin, whenever it goes down, it kind of goes down because Ethereum is kind of like the brother and sisters type of sibling rivalry type of relationship. So something to be mindful of, that the risk is definitely higher than ever. It could technically keep leaping up if we have, like I said, right, impulse move per the analysts that talked about 6,000 to 14,000, right? So would I be suggesting incurring risk right now? If you want to buy now, just know that you have a higher probability of actually coming back down than going up from here right now, right? So be cautious, be risk averse, and think logically. If you buy now, you just have to think about holding long term from here, right? Because ultimately it's going to reach much higher than the level we're at right now. But just about in terms of like risk management, right? Do you think this is the right aversion, the right management level for you to incur risk at the moment? That's up to your personal preference. So Bitcoin right now is like curving down, and I think the ball is basically sliding off right now. And right now it's just sustaining above the 61,000, right? At the 56 out of 70. So technically, if we are gonna come down, I think the first level will be the 57 after we break the 60. But I think 60 is becoming like a floor because of the fact that it's like a hard number and public investors been sustaining to keep us up here. But ideally, if we break that, and I think a whale would be incentivized to do so, would be coming back down all the way to 52, all the way down to 48 and 43 respectively. So Dogecoin right now, negative pattern, very negative. I would say, one stretch up and then it's like subsequently escalated downward. We formed a well back, we formed a def cross with the 52. So I think, selling back down to, again, like 23 to 19 cents would be much more logical. Cardano right now is struggling, and I think it's a golden cross being formed. So Cardano is a very bullish chart right now at the 45 out of 70. So I think buying Cardano is not a bad idea, knowing the fact that we did break $2. But if we break the $2 again, we're going to come back to the 187, basically, per the technicals. Solana is a new all-time high right now, so we could technically keep going up without any remorse. I think it's up to the public investors of how euphoric they want to be. Right now it's at the 70 out of 70, so we don't have indicator of where it could technically go to, but I think because of the fact that we're overbought right now, so technically if we want to go up to like the 85 or 92, we have some more room to run up to maybe 250, maybe 275, and then that should quite do it. Like 300, that could be a really big stretch because we are at the 70 right now, so for us to get to 92, I think that could be a little bit of a stretch. Maybe 250, 275, that's possible if we keep leaping up like this. XRP right now, we form a cross upward with the 60 out of 70. So I think we are trying to get to the 120, which is very logical, right? I think the golden cross is forming, or has been formed if you look closely. Yeah, it has been formed. So technically, you see that whenever we got to the 123, we come back down because of the lack of pressure that we have on top, because mostly public investors are the ones that are buying it right now. So whenever they see that, they have a sell order, because 120 is like a flat number, right? 130, 120, 110, which is a reason we're kind of oscillating, right? So I think we should technically still see some up pressure because despite a 4% right now, because we just formed that golden cross and I don't see any curvature down yet. We are overbought at the 60 out of 70, so not like completely crazy overbought, but like 123 was basically the level that you should have taken profit at in the near term, basically. So, and that's exactly what happened. So right now, I think maybe wait until like come back down to 110, and if we break 110, we go to 101, right? Because we do have a gap that is here. Polkadot down 2.8%. We are forming a curvature. We just form a golden cross, so which is the reason for this leap up. Right now, I think the apex has been formed at the 53.36. We are still overbought to 65, so ideally coming back down to 40, ideally coming back to 30 to 25 would be much more logical. Algorand right now is freezing, but I don't know what is happening. Let me just, okay, there we go. At the 54 out of 70, so I think curving back down. So ideally buy the 160 to 155 again, right? Shiba Inu is selling off, which is very obvious. We are forming a mega death cross coming, right? You see the whale, you could see the head, the forehead. You could see the face almost coming with the 63 out of 70. So ideally selling back down to 2788, selling back down to 900 would be very logical as the next subsequent steps, knowing the fact that we're still overbought at all levels despite the sell-off that we're seeing right now. So respect to risk management level, the dollar cost average at, these are the level as we deplete the RSI back to below 35. These are not price targets of like where we're going to. These are risk management levels that I suggest for myself to be incurring risk when we get to these levels, ideally, right? Right now, I would say, there are a lot of euphoria, thrill, and we definitely have skipped a couple of different market cycles right now and just go straight at it and reaching all-time high, like basically all the time, every single day, and it's because of Q4. There are a lot of whale manipulation that's in play right now. The media affectation is very, very prominently displayed on the bullish settlements, right? So when you see things like that, I think the risk is increasing all-time high. When the price is all-time high as well. So I would definitely incur some, patience and use logic to invest. You always want to buy at a discount, not when everything is super hype, right? And these are the levels when it's really dead in the water, when it's not hyped. And that's the perfect time when you should incur risk, right? So hopefully this is helpful. It's on a Wednesday. Do have a couple meetings later today, and I look forward to catching up with you guys in a bit later. And watch out for them to come up. Take care.